Hi guys, welcome. If this is your first time here, good to see you and hope to see you again. All right, so today I'm just gonna talk about something a little bit different, and that is how to get into Harvard. If you're planning to get into Harvard University, what are some of the things that you need to know? Anyways, I'm sure some of you are already planning and you are probably watching a lot of videos, but I'm just gonna give you a little bit of my story, how I got into Harvard. So first of all, I wasn't planning to go into Harvard. I didn't go to school thinking, one day I'm gonna go to Harvard. I didn't plan it that way, but I did admire. Probably I just said, it would be nice to go there one day, but I didn't really, think of it that way. I didn't have sleepless nights of trying to have a good grade so I can go to Harvard. No, Harvard happened. So I'm just gonna tell you guys how it happened to me, I guess effortlessly, and here's my story. The one thing you need to know about getting to Harvard, obviously, is having good grades. That's no-brainer, right? But also, you don't want to be that smart student that getting A's in everything and you're not really doing anything. You have to have extracurricular activities. So if you're in high school right now, or you're planning to go to high school, you need to start a club at the university. You need to have a program, maybe a volunteer program. You need to get yourself into something extra. And if you're into sports, excel in that, you need to excel in something other than your education. Obviously, other than focusing on your grades. And I'm sure some parents, they might be, telling you they don't want you to do sports, don't get into music, don't do anything extra, because they want you to focus on good grades. Having good grades is important to get into Harvard, but they are not only going to look at grades. They want to see what is unique about you. And Harvard, any year that they accept new students, they are not looking for one exceptional student. They are looking for a class. They want to make sure what type of class are we looking into. So they are also, even though your grades, you have A all through, there is a B that's sneaked into your transcript, you can still make it into Harvard. But you need to have extracurricular activities going on. Okay, back to my story. How I got into Harvard. As I said, Harvard wasn't planned. It just happened. All right. So first, as I mentioned, you need good grades. I had the grades. And then the other thing, they might ask you for TOEFL. That is for English. And I wrote to Harvard. I said, I'm not going to do TOEFL. I actually wrote a very long essay as to why I'm not going to write TOEFL. I went to a very good high school back home. I went to school both in Kenya and Uganda, and I was on top of my class all through. I was the school president. I guess they call it head girl. I've always been number one on my school all through. I had the best essay at the United Nations. Second best essay. I was number 2 right after my high school when I wrote that essay. The title of the essay was How to Improve the Situation of Women in Refugee Camps. And the first person that won the essay was a PhD student. So I was basically a high school student that was just competing with a PhD holder, right? Anyways, I also, I had a research, I wrote a research, and that research was the best in northern Kenya. So there were a lot of things that I did on the side. I also volunteered with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, Lutheran World Federation. So I did a lot of things on the side. Now, when I moved into Canada, of course, I went to Brock University. After I finished, I came to Toronto. I moved to Toronto because Brock University is a small university, but a very good university, but it's in a small city, right? So I had to move to the city, of course, for job. And when I got here, I worked for this one organization for some times. I was promoted, and then I decided that maybe I need to do something better as far as leadership and whatnot, also public speaking and all that stuff. So I went online and started looking for schools to go for my graduate school. And Harvard kept coming up. I was minding my business. I wasn't thinking of going to Harvard. I was on Google. Harvard kept coming up. I'm like, what do I have to lose? Go to Harvard. So I applied. They asked me to do TOEFL, of course. I argued with them. I called the school admin. I wrote then I was like, first of all, I went to university in Canada. It doesn't make sense. What do you mean? What do you mean? I need to do TOEFL. So anyway, so they dropped that. So I didn't have to do TOEFL. They asked for letter of recommendation. Of course, I gave that. And also, I gave them my resume. I don't know, I gave them my resume. But I also got reference letters. Of course, you have to mention your accomplishment. I also told them what I did with the United Nations. I also mentioned what I did at the university. I was also volunteered. I was volunteering with the immigration in Niagara Falls at the time. And I just mentioned every other thing that I was doing. And I ran for board of directors at the university, the student council. So I did a lot of things on the side, and I mentioned it in my letter of, recommendation. I have to come clean. One of the subject that I think wasn't good, I wasn't happy with in my transcript was French. That's a story for another day. But that's a story for another day. When I say good, it doesn't mean it was a 0, of course not. But anyways, so I wrote all these things. I sent them to Harvard. And of course, you also get interviewed, and people that interview you are former alumni, sometimes some of the profs and whatnot. So and one thing they look at, they want to know what you can bring differently. It's not only about the grade. Some of you think you just need to get a perfect grade so you can get into Harvard. No, not only that, they are looking for something extra. As I mentioned earlier, they are looking for the best class, not just one best student. They are also looking at demographic. Say, for example, if in a California area, 90% of students are applying in Harvard, and you live in California, so your chances of getting into Harvard is very slow. If you lived in somewhere in Timbuktu, they haven't seen anybody get into Harvard from Timbuktu for the last 10 years, you have a high chance. Of course, you need to have good grade and all the extracurricular things that I told you. And of course, essay is very big to them. This is how you need to structure your essay. Your essay has to either be funny or the story need to make sense. And if you lie, of course, they're going to catch it, because some of them wrote those essays before they got into Harvard, so you can't really lie. And you need to be honest. You need to be honest, be yourself, okay? Write your own essay. Don't have people write the essays for you, because they will know, okay? Do your own thing. Practice interview skills. And some of the interviews are not really like interview. They are conversational, right? So just relax, nobody's going to delete anybody. You're going to be fine. Some of the interviews are between maybe 45, 1 hour. Some people had their interviews for as long as 3 hours, okay? So so the most thing you need to focus on is your essay, and also know the program you want to attend at Harvard. So for example, if you're going for graduate school, of course you need to have your English need to be in check. If your transcript shows that your math was a B, you are not going to Harvard to do a program in math. So you'll be fine with that. But if you're going to Harvard to do something that requires math, you better ace that math, right? Common sense. So what else? And also a lot of luck. You have to pray, man. It's luck. It's luck. Some people have all the grades, everything checked, but they still are not able to get into Harvard. So just relax and take it easy. You can always reapply. Okay? But most importantly, have a good grade and have extra curriculum things on the side. Okay? Yeah, so as I was saying, the most important thing is to make sure that, of course, you have your good grade. You need to practice more on your essay. And also, if you are applying to go to Harvard Law, you need to make sure you do well on your LSAT, right? So that is very important. Yeah, good grade. You need to definitely do well in your LSAT, but you need to, if you're not really good at essay writing, you probably need to practice a lot more. I remember when I was at Brock, I used to write essay for students, and they used to pay me for writing essays, right? So practice writing essays. I'm sure you can find videos on YouTube on how to write, a good essay. And if you are writing your essay to Harvard, you can choose a line of what you want to do. So, for example, if you are not really into law, you don't like lawyers, you don't like anything to do with law, don't go to Harvard. You want to do law because Obama did it. It's not going to work. Find something that you're really good at and focus on that. And even here in high school, I didn't go to high school in Canada, but they have a lot of really good programs at your high school where they can support you. Well, that is, I knew that because of some of the kids that I help. But anyways, yeah, so your high school, you can get a lot of support. Your family, some family, maybe you're the first person to go into college or university. That's fine. There is YouTube. Look for mentor. Oh, you can even write to me. I don't mind. I can read your essay for you. I don't mind doing that. But yeah, so going to Harvard is not that difficult, as people say. But don't be just that smart student sitting in a corner doing nothing else. And I know some parents, as I mentioned it earlier, some parents, you probably don't want your child to do extra things, extra curriculum activity, because you want them to focus, get good grade, you want them to go to Harvard. They need extra curriculum activities. If there are things that you're good at on the side, focus on that. They are going to come in handy. If there are a not-for-profit organization that you know of, ask to volunteer for them. And when you are planning to go to Harvard, they can write a very good recommendation for you, so do that. And also at your school, your university, just make sure you're in good terms with all your teachers. You can talk to them, because even like when I was going to Harvard, I wasn't in touch with my profs. After I graduated, I never even wrote back to say hi, prof, right? But when I wanted recommendation for Harvard, I went to my department and they have no problem, giving me the letter of recommendations. Okay, so yeah, so do that. And if you are still here up to now watching this video, I'm sure you really want to get into Harvard, and I wish you all the best. See you all in the next video. Bye.